All right, let's dive in. Today, it's aquaculture health. You guys requested this one, and I know you're ready to go deep. Maybe there's a meeting on the horizon, or maybe you're just super curious about how to keep fish healthy on those farms. Either way, buckle up. We're about to explore the fascinating world of fish health, and trust me, there's more to it than meets the eye.
Absolutely.
And as always, we have an expert in the field to help us connect the dots, really understand the why behind all the facts.
Glad to be here. I think a lot of people forget that fish are susceptible to diseases,
Yeah.
just like any other animal. And when you're raising them in close quarters on a farm, well, the challenges just multiply.
For sure. I was looking at the research, all the stuff you sent over, and I gotta say, it's pretty amazing how many things can go wrong. You got bacteria, viruses, parasites, even the water itself can be a problem. It's like a whole underwater drama unfolding.
It really is. And, a lot of these fish diseases are what we call opportunistic. They're kind of lurking in the environment, just waiting for a fish's immune system to weaken, then bam, they strike.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not just about treating diseases after they appear, it's about making sure those fish are healthy from the get-go, like preventative medicine, but for fish.
Exactly. Creating a healthy environment is paramount. Things like good water quality, biosecurity, can't overstate how important those are.
Makes total sense. So speaking of diseases, I was looking at this list. Columnaris, Aeromonas, Koi herpes virus. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie. Are those the heavy hitters, the ones we got to watch out for?
Oh, for sure, those are some of the big ones. But there are also examples of the broader types of pathogens fish farmers are always up against. Calmaris, for example, it's a bacterial infection, can cause some pretty nasty lesions and ulcers on the fish. Imagine a bad case of road rash underwater.
Ouch. Yeah, I get the picture.
And then there's Aeromonas,
Mm.
another bacteria. And this one can lead to a bunch of different issues, from fin rot to even internal bleeding.
Wow, so those are some serious issues. I guess it's incredible how much we can learn just by looking at the fish, observing their behavior, how they look.
Exactly. Fish can't exactly tell us when they're feeling under the weather, right? So we have to be their advocates. Watch out for any signs that something's off. It's like being a fish detective.
Uh-huh, love that. So what would I look for? Let's say I'm walking past a fish tank. What are the telltale signs that something might be wrong?
Well, one of the first things you'll notice is a change in appetite. If a fish that usually eats like crazy suddenly ignores its food, that's a red flag. And then there's lethargy. They might just hang out at the bottom of the tank, not moving around much, just kind of listless.
Ah, so like when we feel sick and just want to veg out on the couch.
Exactly. And then, of course, there are the physical signs. So keep an eye out for any skin lesions, ulcers, any unusual spots, like checking your own skin for moles, anything that seems out of the ordinary.
Right, makes sense. What about their gills? I mean, those are pretty important for fish, right?
Oh, they are absolutely essential. That's how they breathe. So any problems there, that's a big deal, potentially life-threatening. If the gills are pale or inflamed or look damaged in any way, that's a definite sign something's wrong. Think of it like having a stuffy nose or a really bad sore throat. Makes it hard to breathe.
Yeah, that definitely paints a picture.
Yeah.
This is all so interesting. Never realized how much detail goes into just observing fish health. It really is a whole world of its own.
It really is. And early detection, that's key. The sooner you can identify a problem, the better your chances are. It's way easier to treat something small than a full-blown outbreak, right?
Makes sense. Got to be proactive. Speaking of being proactive, let's talk about biosecurity, keeping those unwanted pathogens OUT.
Exactly. Biosecurity, it's all about preventing the introduction and spread of diseases,
Mm.
like building a fortress around your fish farm. Keep the bad stuff out.
Okay, so let's break that down a bit. What are the walls of this fortress, so to speak? What are the key things every fish farmer should have in place?
Quarantine. That's absolutely essential. Any new fish, they got to be kept separate, different tank for a period of time, just to observe them, see if any signs of illness pop up.
Oh, so it's like a waiting room at the doctor's office, but for fish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while they're in quarantine, we can do some testing, make sure they're not carrying anything we don't want.
Right, makes sense. And I'm guessing cleaning and disinfecting equipment is huge too, right?
Absolutely. Nets, tanks, anything that touches the fish has to be cleaned and disinfected regularly. It's basic hygiene, like washing your hands before you handle food,
Mm.
right? Minimizing the spread of germs.
Okay. Quarantine, clean equipment. What else?
Don't overcrowd.
Hmm.
Just like people, if you pack fish in too tight, they get stressed, their immune systems get weaker, and it makes it way easier for diseases to spread.
Ah, so social distancing, but for fish. Got it. So it's all about creating this safe, low-stress environment.
That's a great way to put it. A healthy environment is a huge part of preventing disease.
So we've talked about keeping the bad stuff out, but what about what goes in, specifically food? What role does nutrition play in all of this?
Oh, and nutrition is key. Building block of a healthy immune system. Just like us, fish need a balanced, nutritious diet. To thrive, fight off infections, the whole 9 yards.
Right, so we're talking high-quality fish food, no junk food allowed.
Exactly. High-quality feed, it's packed with all those essential nutrients, vitamins, minerals, everything the fish needs to grow, develop a strong immune system. Skimp on that, and, well, it's like trying to run a marathon on a diet of chips and candy. Not going to end well.
Uh-huh, okay, I get it. Fuel matters. But are there other things, maybe less obvious things, that can impact a fish's health? Like, could feeding habits play a role too?
You're spot on. Overfeeding, that's a big problem. Wastes money, pollutes the water, and it's just not good for the fish.
Right, so it's all about finding that sweet spot. Not too much, not too little.
Exactly. Providing the right food in the right amounts at the right times. That's the key to healthy fish in a healthy environment.
Speaking of healthy, I've heard so much about probiotics lately. Do those work for fish too?
Oh, for sure. Probiotics, those are the good bacteria, right? They can help regulate the gut, boost the immune system, kind of like giving your fish a daily dose of yogurt, but, tailored for their aquatic needs.
Ah, so promoting that healthy gut microbiome, just like with us. How do you even give fish probiotics, though?
It's actually pretty easy. You can add probiotics directly to their feed or put them in the water. It's becoming a really popular way to give those immune systems a boost, improve overall health.
So we've got water quality, biosecurity, good food. What else do we need to tick off the list to keep those fish in tip-top shape?
Well, even with all that, you can't completely eliminate the risk of disease. So routine health checks are really important.
Okay, so walk me through a fish checkup. What does that look like?
Well, it starts with good observation. People who work on the farms need to know what to look for. Remember those signs of illness we talked about? Changes in behavior, appetite, appearance. Got to catch those early.
Right, early intervention. Makes sense. But what if you need more than just looking? Are there other tools in the fish doctor's bag?
Oh, absolutely. We could do disease screenings, test for specific pathogens. We can take samples, water, tissue, even blood. All kinds of ways to figure out what's going on.
Like CSI, but for fish. Okay, but let's say, despite our best efforts, disease strikes. What are our options then?
Well, then we move to treatment. And it really depends on what we're dealing with. If it's a bacterial infection, often the go-to is antibiotics. But got to make sure those are prescribed by a vet, right dosage, prevent antibiotic resistance. It's all really important.
Right, no fish superbugs. So antibiotics for bacteria, check. What about viruses? Those seem trickier.
Viruses, unfortunately, there's no magic bullet, no direct cure. So the focus shifts to supporting the fish, managing the symptoms, boosting their immune system, giving them the best chance to fight back.
Okay, so it's all hands on deck to help those fish weather the storm. And what about parasites? Those always sound so nasty.
Parasites, yeah, they can be a pain. Depending on the type, we might use medicated baths, salt dips, even specific anti-parasitic treatments. Goal is to eliminate the parasite without hurting the fish.
Makes sense. Okay, last one, fungal infections. How do we deal with those?
Fungal infections, we usually treat those with antifungal medications, kind of like we do in humans. But it's also really important to improve water quality. Fungi, they love those bad water conditions. So cleaning things up, that's key.
So it's like taking away the welcome mat. Okay, wow, we've covered a lot. From preventing disease to treating it, it's definitely clear that there's a lot more to fish health than...
Then meets the eye.
Exactly.
And what's exciting is that things are always changing. New technologies, new strategies to improve fish health and make the whole system more sustainable.
Okay, now you've got me really curious about those. But first, I think it's time to let all this information sink in for a bit. We'll be right back. All right, back at it. I don't know about you, but I'm still processing all this fish health info. Before the break, you mentioned some pretty exciting innovations. What's on the horizon for aquaculture health?
Well, one big shift is moving from reaction to proaction. Instead of just treating diseases when they pop up, it's about building a system where disease is minimized from the start.
Okay, I like the sound of that. Tell me more.
One super exciting area is vaccine development for fish. Imagine vaccinating against some of those major diseases we talked about. That could really change the game.
Vaccines for fish? That's wild. Is it similar to how we vaccinate, say, cats and dogs?
Yeah, in some ways. We already have some vaccines for bacterial diseases in fish. But viral vaccines, that's the new frontier. If we can figure that out, it would mean using a lot less antibiotics, other treatments, better for the fish, better for the environment, win-win.
Makes sense. Less medication, less side effects, less chance of resistance building up. Good stuff. Anything else you're particularly excited about in terms of innovation?
Another one that's really cool is genetic selection. Breeding fish that are naturally more resistant to disease. If we can pinpoint those genes, those traits, we can create stronger, healthier populations.
So it's like building a defense system right into their DNA. That's brilliant. I was also reading about AI being used to spot diseases in salmon. Is that starting to take off?
Oh, absolutely. AI, machine learning, they're being used more and more for diagnostics. Imagine a system that can just look at a fish and tell you right away if there's something wrong, even something super subtle that a human might miss. That kind of early detection is really valuable.
Like a super high-tech fish doctor. That's amazing. It's encouraging to see this focus on prevention, rather than just reacting to problems.
Yeah, and if we zoom out a bit, think bigger picture, that's what the future of aquaculture health is all about. It's about understanding that fish health, the environment, human health, it's all connected.
It's true. When we think about fish on our plates, we don't often think about all the science and care that went into getting them there.
Exactly. Aquaculture, it's kind of hidden, but it's so important for feeding the world and making sure those fish are healthy. Well, that matters, not just for the industry, but for everyone, for the planet.
It really highlights how we're all connected, doesn't it? The choices we make, even something as specific as aquaculture, it all has an impact.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It all goes back to balance, right? Healthy fish, healthy environment, healthy industry, all linked together.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from tiny pathogens to these big, amazing technologies. But before we wrap up, I want to make sure our listener walks away with the main takeaway. Maybe they're prepping for a meeting or just super curious about this whole world. What's the most important thing to remember?
I think it's this: aquaculture health. It's not just about treating sick fish. It's about creating a whole system where preventing disease, catching it early, and doing things sustainably are the top priorities.
Beautifully said. So to our listener, we hope you learned something new today. Maybe even feel inspired to dive deeper into this world. And now, to finish things off, a little food for thought, something to spark some ideas. Ready?
Hit me with it.
Okay. Imagine it's 2050. Aquaculture is even more vital to feeding the world. What other breakthroughs might we see in fish health?
Oh, that's a great question. Makes you think big picture, right?
Yeah.
I think we'll see technology playing a huge role. Sensors in fish tanks, constantly monitoring everything, letting farmers know if something's even slightly off before they can even see it.
Like a fish Fitbit. Love it. Anything else?
Personalized nutrition, we're already doing some of that, but imagine taking it further, creating food that's specifically tailored to each fish, based on their genes, their environment. Super customized.
Wow, so like a personal chef for every fish. Okay, last one. Boldest prediction for the future of aquaculture health.
I think we'll see a move away from just treating disease to actually preventing it at a fundamental level. Harnessing the power of the microbiome, all those microorganisms living inside the fish, to boost their immunity from the inside out.
That's incredible. Like bioengineering a healthier future really makes you think about the power of nature, doesn't it?
For sure. That's what makes this field so exciting. There's always more to learn, more to discover, and more ways to do things better. And it all comes back to that goal, right? Making sure fish and humans have a healthy and sustainable future.
Well said. I think that's a perfect place to leave it. We've gone from the microscopic to the macro, and it's clear that aquaculture health is full of possibilities.
It really is. And it's something we all need to care about.
Absolutely. So to our listener, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it sparked your curiosity. And remember, always keep exploring.
Until next time.
Keep diving deep. Fish Fitbits, personalized nutrition. The future of aquaculture health is pretty wild, huh? It's amazing to think about how far we've already come and all the potential out there.
It is remarkable. And really, we're just getting started. There's so much more to uncover, especially when it comes to those connections between fish health, the environment, and us, human health.
Totally. It really emphasizes that aquaculture isn't just about producing food. It's about this whole healthy, sustainable ecosystem. We've talked a lot about the science today, but what about the people side of things?
Julian.
Well, you mentioned how people working on farms need to be trained to spot signs of disease, and I'm sure there are tons of researchers, vets, all these experts working behind the scenes to push this field forward. What are some of the big challenges they face, and what's it like doing that kind of work?
Great question. I think staying ahead of new diseases is a huge challenge. As aquaculture gets bigger and global trade increases, new pathogens can pop up, spread quickly. It's like a constant race to develop the tools and treatments we need before a disease can cause real damage.
Sounds intense. High stakes for sure.
It can be,
Mm.
but it's also incredibly rewarding. Knowing that your work is helping to feed people, keeping our planet healthy, it's a good feeling. And honestly, working with fish is just fascinating. They're complex creatures. There's always something new to learn.
I bet. And I imagine there's a lot of collaboration involved, right? Not just within the aquaculture world, but with other fields too.
Oh, absolutely. Aquaculture health really brings different disciplines together. We work with engineers to design better systems, geneticists to breed those disease-resistant fish. It takes all kinds of expertise.
It's incredible how connected everything is. We started talking about these microscopic pathogens, and now we're seeing how it all ties into global food systems, technology, the health of our planet.
That's the beauty of a deep dive, right? Always takes you to unexpected places.
Well, I think our listeners probably feeling pretty well versed in aquaculture health by now. We've taken them from knowing maybe not that much to having a good grasp of the issues, the possibilities, all those cool innovations on the horizon.
I hope so. And I hope they feel inspired to learn more, maybe even get involved somehow. This is important work.
For sure. So, listener, if you're feeling fired up about all of this, here's what you can do. First, check out the show notes. We'll have links to articles, organizations, all sorts of resources to keep you learning.
Great idea.
Second, don't be shy about reaching out to the experts. There are tons of folks out there who are passionate about this stuff and love to share their knowledge.
And a lot of them love to connect with people who are interested in aquaculture.
Exactly. And finally, consider supporting organizations that are working towards sustainable aquaculture. Whether you donate, volunteer, or just spread the word, every little bit helps.
Couldn't agree more. And remember, the future of aquaculture, it's in our hands. We can work together to make sure there's plenty of healthy seafood for everyone for a long time to come.
Love that. I think that's a great place to wrap things up. Thanks so much for joining us for this incredible deep dive into aquaculture health. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to our listener, as always, stay curious and keep diving deep.
Until next time.